I loved the outdoors. And so it was great fun up in the Adirondacks. We were fishing, we were water skiing, but we also had what's called a lake toy. And so my brother-in-law was spinning us around. We were laughing, fell off into the water. We'd get back on the boat, you'd go back out. So everything was normal until we hear my brother-in-law yell, "Get off the bullet, the boat is sinking." I looked down and the tow rope's wrapped around my leg. My brother-in-law can't see me because the bullet's in the way. I hear the engine start and I go, "Oh, this is gonna hurt." Next thing I know, I'm being dragged underwater. So I'm swallowing water this whole time. I knew I was gonna die. Well, as I'm thinking that, I separate from my body. And I immediately go through this saran wrap kind of veil. It was like, oh my God, I knew I was in eternity. I'm Donna Rebido. I grew up in Western New York. I'm one of 7 children and lived a pretty normal suburban life. Didn't have a lot of close friends until I started playing sports in high school and realized, oh, this social thing can be kind of fun. I realized that I could be part of a team. And so I had some athletic abilities and I went down to Texas to play basketball at Wayland Baptist, but I also wanted to make sure that I would be employed because I saw the discrimination against women in lots of different arenas. So I thought, well, I'm gonna have a double major, have maybe 2 masters, I didn't know what I was gonna need to be employed. So that's what I started doing after college is I started working and going to school on my master's, and I have a master's degree in physical education and I have a master's degree in Oriental medicine and acupuncture. Ended up down in Phoenix, got hired in the community college system. So I was a professor for the last 30 years. I retired in 2015. I loved the outdoors. We grew up in Ontario. And so my brother-in-law, his company had cabins up in the Adirondacks. You'd pick 2 weeks during the summer and your family got to have the cabin. So it was our week to have the cabin. And so it was great fun up in the Adirondacks. We were fishing, we were water skiing, but we also had what's called a lake toy. It's an inflatable raft with pontoons. And that could be drug around the lake if you didn't want to go water skiing. So we've been doing that for, several years. And this was a regular, normal year. It was 1998. We'd been out early morning fishing. And we wanted to get out on the lake toy before lunch. So the people that got on the boat was my brother-in-law, his nephew, his nephew's baby, and my older sister and I were gonna get on the inflatable lake toy. The lake toy is being towed by a tow rope. And so my brother-in-law was spinning us around, we were laughing, fell off into the water, we'd get back on the boat, you'd go back out. So everything was normal. My life was normal. What I was doing was normal until it wasn't. On his boat, there's a device that they torque wrench into the bottom so the boat can never have water come on board. It's like impossible. So we had just dumped off, and so we got back on the boat, and my sister was behind me on the raft, and I'm on the raft. And you're kind of, being pulled out. My sister was letting out the rope. So here was the boat, and we got let out to about here when we hear my brother-in-law yell, "Get off the bullet, the boat is sinking." The boat sinking, that's impossible. But I looked behind me, and my sister threw the tow rope to the left. Now, tow ropes, they're nylon. They don't sink. They float on the water. So we had our life jackets on. And I looked over as we're going in the water to the right. So this is like boom, boom. We're in the water. The inflatable toy is in front of me. My sister's behind me. And I look down, and the tow rope's wrapped around my leg. And I said, that's impossible. There's no way this rope can be, I wonder if it's an optical illusion. Is it around my leg? And my brother-in-law can't see me because the bullet's in the way. I hear the engine start. Now it's twin-powered engine, a lot of power in that boat. And I go, oh, this is gonna hurt. And he takes off. Next thing I know, I know that tow rope is just heading out with the boat, and it strangled my leg to the bone. And when it did that, there was an explosion of pain in my head. You know, it was like, oh my God, this is really hurting. Next thing I know, I'm being drugged underwater. So it's the boat, the bullet, and myself. My sister's back there, and she says, I was watching my husband kill my sister because she knew they were turned toward the shore, and that's their focus, to get the boat in before it sinks and there's a baby on board. So I'm being drowned. The power of the force of that, the water was hitting my chest, and my air bubbles were going out. And here's how I was thinking. I really could use that air. I really could use that. Oh my God. The next thing, because I'm being told like this, is all that college education, and I can't get out of this. I immediately started taking in water because of the power of the boat. So I'm swallowing water this whole time. I knew I was gonna die. There was I wouldn't say a peace in it, but there was no sense in being angry. It just was, I knew. There was a knowing that there's nothing I can do. So since I was hanging out, I thought, well, where are they gonna have the funeral? Will they have it in Arizona? Will they have it in New York? How are they gonna do this? Well, as I'm thinking that, I separate from my body. And I immediately go through this saran wrap kind of veil. It was very thin, but it was something there. As I pop through, I go, oh, I'm dead. Oh, I brought my consciousness with me. Wow, that's pretty cool. Then it was like, oh my God, there's a difference between time and no time. I knew I was in eternity. Then the cells in my body started vibrating. And it was like each cell, trillions of cells that look like a happy face. And they start giggling. They're just, ooh, everything's funny. You know, and I look down and I go, what are you guys doing? And I hear them say, I hear the cells in my body going, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. And I'm like, who's coming? And as I'm slow motion looking up, if this was the earth, I could feel something coming up. And as it's coming up, I'm going, oh my God, it's the creator of the universe. Oh my God. And I'm going to my cells, now I know why you were excited. This is so exciting. And so, boom. Face to face with the creator of the universe. And he doesn't have a face. He doesn't have it's no pronoun. It's not a he, it's not a she, it's not an it. It is the creator of the universe, and all I can describe what it seemed to be was like the aurora borealis. It was this wavy, different colors, electric being. I don't know if you know about telepathy. You know, most people, I don't know how they experience telepathy, but this is my first time experiencing telepathy. And it was you know when you go to the bank, you go to a drive-in bank, that teller, and you put your money in that little tube, and it goes out? It's like that. It's like a tube of knowledge that is being sent into your brain this way. And when it gets into your brain, it unpacks. And so I was like, oh my God, this is really kind of cool. And as I'm having a thought, the creator of the universe is having the exact same thought. And it goes like this. Oh my God, the creator of the universe. And I hear back, I am the creator of the universe. And I'm like, oh my God, you know everything. As I hear, I know everything. So it was this beautiful conversation, that I knew I was in front of the creator of the universe. And it was like, I started seeing the expanse of what this really means to be eternal. And, when people talk about multidimensional, and it was like, oh my God, this is just so amazing. I started looking back to Earth going, oh, I hope they're going to be okay with me, being dead and drowned. And as I was starting to look back, I hear this telepathic being, not God, say, don't worry. As soon as I heard that and I turned back, everything on Earth disappeared. All 3D, people I know, just its existence no longer occurred to me because I was so focused in the present moment of what was happening here. And I was like, you know everything. I know everything. Then God said to me, I even know the number of grains of sand on a beach in New Zealand. Now, why would God say that? Of all the things he could have picked. But next thing you know, I'm being rocketed down to New Zealand on a beach. And my eye was right up against a grain, and I knew immediately how many grains of sand were on that beach. And then I rocket back up in front of God, and I'm just amazed at this. And he says, I even know the number of hairs on your head. And I was getting information through this telepathy through my head. It felt like this way. Then all of a sudden, the concept of love became palatable and was shooting through my body this way. So I don't have a body, but it's like I had a body. And I'm sitting there going, oh, now I know bliss, love and bliss. And the creator of the universe called me by my name. My name is not Donna. It's a name that God knew me as through the millennial, however long that is. And I was like, oh. And I was in this space that I never wanted to leave. I was moving through the universe and I'm getting knowledge about this is how this works, this is how this works. And I'm like, this is so cool. And we kind of came to a stop, it felt like, and I hear God say this. So, Donna, what would you like to do here? I never thought I would say this in a million years. So you can say, well, when I die, I'm going to ask God this. No, it did not happen. So I look at God and I said, well, God, since you made me, I give the choice to you. As soon as that happened, I immediately realized what I had just done. I gave away my choice. And some people go, well, no, that was your choice. Your choice was that. No, I said, I gave away knowing what was going to happen next. Okay, God, I give the choice to you. As soon as I realized what I had done and I can't undo it, I did this. Oh, shit. Then I said, oh, I just swore in front of God. And look at God and go, oh, shit. No, I'm sorry. It's like, as I'm waiting for God to answer me, I heard this, and I don't know what being, so I have no idea. But it was like, when you go back, you will tell people how important choice is in their lives. And here's what choice means. It doesn't mean what am I going to have for dinner. It means every moment of your life, you are making choices in your thinking. How you think about people, how you think about the story. Someone tells you something that goes against your belief system, and you go, well, I don't really believe that, even if you don't say it. That's a choice. And how precious choice is to human beings. We talk about free will, but this was like more than that. This is like every moment of choice. A lot of times people think if they're sitting in a coffee shop or something and they look over and they see someone and they have thoughts about that. Oh, look at that person, their coat doesn't match their shoes, or whatever it is you're thinking. You think just because you don't say it that it doesn't have an impact, but that's not true. There's an energy associated with that. I don't know how to explain that. Energy looks so different to me now. So I'm getting this lesson in surrender and choice while I'm waiting, and I'm kind of feel like I'm like this, And all of a sudden I become unhinged. And I feel like I'm falling back to earth, and I hear this. I swear I hear this. He says, "Good answer." Because I'm falling back and I hear, "Good answer." And I land inside my body. I snap back in my body and I realize my lungs are full of water. What's going to happen here? What just happened? What happened was my brother-in-law's driving the boat and he feels a hand on his shoulder. No one's there. He turns around and he's like, "What?" But it made him stop the boat. And he saw the bullet kind of acting funny. Well, it was me on the end. So I go, "Oh, I'm alive." And I start swimming to the surface. So I put my hands like this. I felt human hands under my armpits. I thought it was my sister. And I looked down, I'm looking at the rope going, there's no way they're getting this rope out of my leg. As soon as I said that, the rope comes undone. I get up to the top, no one's there. And I feel like pounding on my back, like I just started gallons of water. And my sister's, she must have looked like Superwoman swimming across the lake to get to me. And I looked down at my leg and I went, oh my God, it's in half. So I'm kind of holding on to my leg as my sister's swimming up and I'm yelling, don't look at my leg, don't look at my leg. What does she do? She looks at my leg and she starts screaming. And I started telling her, first aid, like, okay, Cindy, I'm gonna go into shock. So here's what you do. Make sure my legs are up here, but grab onto my leg and, do all this. So my brother-in-law gets another boat, but he was not in a hurry because he doesn't know what happened out on the lake. But when he comes out with the other boat, I do the same thing. Don't look at my leg. And he looks at my leg. And he's gonna try to get in the water and get me on the boat. And I said, no, if you get me on the boat, my leg will fall off. So just drag me back in. That's all I want you guys to do. So that's what we did. We got back on the dock. The ambulance came. Even in the ambulance, they started giving me electrolytes and treating it. Now, the lake was full of giardia, so I'd swallowed all of that. So when I got to the hospital, they were concerned about the swelling in my leg and they were concerned about the amount of water that I took in. So antibiotics and leg antibiotics, and pain pills. So I was only in the emergency room. They didn't take me overnight. They just basically said, go back to your cabin. So my brother-in-law, we drove back to the cabin and just iced it, antibiotics. That's all they told me. So the whole thing is miraculous. The fact that the boat was sinking when water can't get on it, that the tow rope that can't sink and is supposed to float didn't, and how it wrapped around my leg, how it got out of my leg. That was a series of impossible things. How did that happen? So I spent a lot of time going, how did that happen? How did I get there? The first year, I only told my circle of friends. I didn't even tell my family members. I didn't know what really happened. I didn't know there was such a thing as a near-death experience. I didn't know what NDE meant. I didn't know there were NDE groups. I didn't know there was anybody I could talk to about it. So I just kept talking to the other side. I would have an intention before I went to bed or sleep. I'd say, I have some questions about what's going down here. So the first, 6 months was just dealing with the wound itself. And then I had no feeling in my calf. I'd have no feeling in my toes. I would kind of drag my leg around, which is not really a good thing. A teacher, I'm used to walking around my classroom and I had to just sit there because I didn't want my students to see me dragging my leg around the classroom. So I have an acupuncture clinic. So after I teach school, I go to my acupuncture clinic. There's a bank right there. I'm now going to make my day's deposit, and I've written out how I want it taken care of in my business. So I go in the bank's quiet, there's a line behind me, but I have a piece of paper and I shove it to the teller as my nerves, when they start to regenerate, it's an explosion of pain. You can't not yell, no matter, what you do. So as I'm putting how I want take care of the cash, I go, ah! And the teller thinks I'm robbing the bank. So she goes, ah! And because the two of us said, ah, Everyone in the bank got on the ground. They're just got their cell phone. They're calling the police. I'm going, no, no, no. It's just my leg. It's just I'm trying to put my pants up to show them the bandages and the teller. No, I'm not robbing the bank. So I have to tell the police about that. So that was kind of a new normal of, being careful of where I am when, and you can't predict when you're going to have nerve pain. So that was a year, 6 months of the wound and another trying to figure out how am I dealing with my life. Yeah, there's been lots of physical things I've had to deal with since the NDE. And it was years later that someone told me about, there's something called IANDS, the International Near-Death Association, and about the Monroe Institute. You can go there and talk to people. When they ask me, what was it like? They want to know. I said, well, here's how I feel about it. It was a designer death. We each get a designer death because God knows you so well to the nth degree, and it blew up my whole belief system of what I was taught, what I grew up with, and what I saw. It took me years to try to assimilate that spirituality. It was like, if someone said, well, this is how God works. That's not what I saw. That's not what I heard. It changed my life. It changed everything. I think about everything so different every moment. So I've loved deeply here. I know what that love is, and it's the most powerful force on earth. The love over there is a pure love, and it doesn't mean that you can't have pure love here. Like I said, it's very difficult, some of the concepts. The love of a husband or a wife or a child, or seeing the birth of your child, and you think that it's such bliss or it's not going to get better. It's 100 times better. I think, a love that I can't explain, but you would have to experience it, and I didn't expect that. So all you people that are watching that think it's the product of your brain, how do you explain that? How do you explain to me, because I know love here and I know love there. Every cell, every part of you that makes you who you are is bathed in this pure bliss of safety and security and love, and that you never want to leave. This is why when some people are given the choice, they say, I'm not coming back. If you listen to near-death stories, I was given a choice and there's no way I'm going back there. To be here is hard. This isn't heaven. This is a working planet. So you have to come to a belief system of how that fits or assimilates. How do you assimilate suffering in this? Some people call it a school, a hospital, a working planet, whatever you call this. This is not that. And what you bring there is what you're able to work through and work out in your own heart. You bring your heart there. You bring the essence of your heart and love there. If I had advice, it would be aware of every moment if you can. I don't think for most people that's possible. Most people are thinking, I would tell my students, you have an 8-track brain. 8 things are going on. I got a grocery list, I have trying to resolve this issue, I have these things to do, I have these decisions to make. So I see that they're living an 8-track life, and it's very difficult to get that down to the present moment. So it becomes first awareness. You have to be aware of where you are in your life. I saw that with my students. Where are you in your belief system? Where are you in your life? Where are you in your goals? So the second thing would be a search. I want to search for what I think is the truth. So some people go on this great search of, no, the truth is in Catholicism, the truth is in Christianity, the truth is in Hindu, the truth is wherever you land. And over time, does that serve you? Because you begin to assimilate other information. So we're on this education journey, we're on this life journey, we're on this work journey, and try not to get caught up in doing so much. I tell people, you're a human being, not a human doing. So take a deep breath, work through this. Can you look at it a different way? Is there anything that I can say to change your perspective 1 degree? That's what I'm here for. Can I change your perspective 1 degree? And let that bubble up inside you. I mean, be aware of the possibilities. Are you aware of the possibilities you could have angels? No. Are you aware of the possibility that there's an afterlife? No, there's no afterlife. You guys are making it up. But if I can come and say, can you set aside your belief for a moment? Could you do that? Just set it aside, listen to what I have to say, be open to these possibilities. Then you can pick up your old belief system or begin to assimilate that. There's nothing I'm going to say to you to convince you of an afterlife. This was my experience of the afterlife. This was my design or death. But it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and it radically changed my entire life. I wanted to make sure that I was living a full life. So I brought laptops to Chiapas, to the Mayan students. I brought humanitarian aid to the war-torn areas of Croatia. So I was in China studying during the 2008 earthquake and was able to do some work there. So I've been a humanitarian, a poet, a writer. And it wasn't so much human doing as much as I was experiencing the planet. I'd have people ask me questions about that. And every single person said, I'm waiting. I'm waiting till I retired. I'm waiting until the kids come out of the house. I'm waiting for this check to come in. Don't wait. Whatever circumstances you're in, I get that you can't just drop everything and do stuff. I understand that. But you should never say to yourself, I'm going to wait. I have a podcast. I'm learning how to metalsmith. I'm making jewelry because I want to experience this. None of that's on the other side. None of that. So that's here. So let me, set up my house so that I have rooms so I can go to my podcast room and I can go to my music room and I can, go to these different rooms and just enjoy this.